Welcome to Cinematic Recaps. Today we're diving into one of the most iconic action sci-fi films of the 21st century, Mad Max Fury Road by George Miller from 2015. Spoilers ahead, but let's begin. Max Rokitansky, a former cop, is telling his story of the world. The world has collapsed. Civilization has vanished, leaving behind nothing but sand, heat, and silence. The earth is dry and water has become more precious than gold. Gasoline is the new currency. Max is taking a piss beside his dusty car. His mind is tormented by voices and visions of a young girl and woman saying he promised to save them. Every whisper echoes through his head until the sound of engines shatters the silence. Max quickly jumps into his car and speeds away. The scavenger war boys, pale and fanatical soldiers devoted to a warlord named Immortal Joe, catch up to him and ram into his vehicle again and again until it flips violently across the sand. Dazed, Max crawls out while having a vision of the young girl he failed to save. They drag him to their fortress, the Citadel, a massive tower carved into the rocks. There, Max's head is shaved, his body tattooed with his blood type and vital details to show he's a universal blood donor. They try to brand his neck, but he fights them off and escapes. While making his way out, he continues having visions of the young girl. He runs to the end of the cave and almost falls off a cliff. Max hangs on a hook nearby, but he's captured and pulled back in by the angry war boys. Later, we see Imperator Furiosa, one of Immortan Joe's trusted drivers. She's lost an arm in battle. Furiosa makes her way to the war rig, a massive armored truck, and attaches the steering wheel to it. The war boys prepare the war rig for a routine supply run to Gastown and Bullet Farm to trade water and milk for fuel and ammunition. Outside, the people cheer as Immortan Joe prepares to address them. He walks to the edge of his cave tower and begins addressing the people. Because he controls the water, he's seen as a savior to mankind. He pulls a lever and water flows below, while the people scramble to fetch it. The water flows for a few seconds and he stops it. He tells the people not to become addicted to water. Max is locked in a cage and they prepare him for transfusion. Back on the road, Furiosa and her convoy are getting close to Gastown when she suddenly takes a detour. Her soldiers look confused and unsure, but she convinces them otherwise. At the Citadel, Corpus Colossus, one of Joe's sons, spots the war rig taking a different route and informs him. Joe takes a look through the spyglass and sees she's gone off route into hostile territory. Immortan Joe quickly runs to the vault that held his prized breeders and sees it's empty. Written on the floor are the words, "Our babies will not be warlords." Miss Giddy, the caretaker of his breeders, points a gun at him and tells him he can't own a human being and that the ladies beg to be taken with Furiosa. Outside, the war boys prepare to chase down Furiosa. They all go to a room where the steering wheels are kept and each grab one. Nux sees his Lancer, Slit, with his wheel and fights him to get it. Slit tells Nux he's weak and can't do war, and the doctor agrees with Slit. Nux is desperate to prove his worth and insists he won't stay back and die cold. He then decides to take Max with him as his blood bag to keep himself alive during the pursuit. The hunt party and their numbers thunder across the wasteland in pursuit of the war rig. Nux comes close to Immortan Joe's car and calls his attention. Joe looks at him and he's happy and excited and decides to go ahead of the others. Meanwhile, the war boys riding with Furiosa spot smoke signals in the air, and one of them tells her they are vehicles from the Citadel. He asks what she thinks about it, and she tells him it's a detour. Hostiles spot the war rig in their territory and go after it. Furiosa spots them and informs her crew, and quickly they prepare to engage in battle with them. The Hostiles and Furiosa's crew engage in a deadly battle with cars and bikes exploding and crashing in the hot desert. One of the hostile vehicles tries to drill a hole in the war rig's wheels. Furiosa steps out of the rig and shoots at the vehicle until it explodes and crashes into another vehicle. Nux catches up to Furiosa and quickly joins in, battling the hostiles chasing her. One of the war boys is shot with an arrow, and he sacrifices himself to destroy the hostiles chasing them. One of Joe's breeders crawls to the cab to tell Furiosa they can't breathe at the back of the rig. She tells her to stay out of sight, and just then, the hostiles use a spinning drill to breach the rig. They use an excavator arm to rip off the cab, but the war boys quickly destroy the hydraulics on it. The vehicle explodes and crashes. Furiosa drives the war rig into a sandstorm to lose the hunting party behind her, and one of the war boys approaches her and asks why she can't stop. He quickly realizes Furiosa has done something wrong and tries to strangle her, but she punches him in the face with her mechanical arm. Quickly, she hits Nux's car before he can shoot at her, and his front wheel is damaged. To reduce weight on the front wheels, he asks his friend to bring Max to the back of the vehicle. Max fights back and pushes him off the vehicle just before they enter the sandstorm. Max tries to get in the car through the sunroof, but Nux quickly closes it. The rest of Furiosa's convoy is destroyed by lightning in the sandstorm. Nux turns on the turbo in his vehicle and quickly catches up to Furiosa. Nux opens the gasoline tank and lets it flow in the car. Max realizes what he's trying to do and breaks the glass in an attempt to stop him. Nux lights a flare and is about to sacrifice himself to stop Furiosa, but the roof is blown off by strong winds and Max quickly grabs his hands and stops him. Suddenly, Furiosa hits their vehicle from behind and they crash. Max wakes up after the storm half buried in the sand, with his hand still chained to Nux, who is unconscious. He drags him out of the car and tries to break the chain. Max sees a shotgun and attempts to shoot off Nux's hand, but the gun is jammed because of the sand and doesn't fire. In the distance, Max spots the war rig and carries Nux to it. He gets there and sees Joe's breeders bathing while Furiosa is working on repairs. He points his gun at them, and Angharad, who's pregnant, tells him they're not going back. Max demands for water, and Angharad hands him a hose. After drinking, he orders one of them to cut off his chains. As she does so, Furiosa attacks him, grabs the gun, and pulls the trigger, and quickly realizes the gun is jammed. Joe's wives step in to assist Furiosa by pulling on Max's chain. While the two continue fighting, Nux wakes up and stops Furiosa from grabbing a gun she hid on her rig. Max gets the gun, and she quickly removes the chamber. Nux fights off the ladies and hands the chamber to Max, who subdues Furiosa. After the fight, they spot Joe's hunting party in the distance. Nux tells Max if they hand over Furiosa together with Joe's wives, he will give them anything they ask for. Nux cuts off Max's chains, and Max gets his jacket off Nux and punches him. Immediately, Angharad walks to the rig, and Max shoots her in the leg. He gets in the rig and drives off. Furiosa tells the ladies if they want to survive, they should do as she says. She tells them to pick up what they can and run after the war rig. While Max is driving, the rig powers down and stops. Furiosa catches up and tells him there are kill switches in the rig, and it goes nowhere without her. Max is willing to let her in, but she's not leaving without Joe's wives. Max decides they'll have to wait for Joe. Furiosa tells him he's relying on the gratitude of a very bad man, and since he shot Joe's most loved breeder, he won't be so grateful to him. She asks if he wants the iron mask off his face, and immediately he lets them in. She hands him a metal filer to cut it off. Furiosa starts the rig and kicks off while Nux wakes up from his slumber and chases after them. He catches up to them and climbs on the rig. Inside the rig, Max grabs a bag and loads all of Furiosa's weapons in them, while Joe's wives talk about him. As they approach the canyons, they spot allies of Immortan Joe, and among them is the People Eater himself. Suddenly, the rig slows down, and Furiosa thinks the problem is the fuel pod. Max volunteers to go and check it out. Max sees the hydraulics connecting the fuel pod to the rig have been disconnected, and the pod is dragging behind the rig. Simultaneously, Nux crawls beneath a hole in the rig to where Furiosa is. Max connects the hydraulics and makes his way back. On his way, he succeeds in cutting off the iron mask and freeing his face. Nux shows up from underneath and grabs Furiosa by the neck, wanting to choke her to death, but Joe's wives quickly intervene and stop him. Furiosa tries to slit his throat, but the ladies stop her, saying they agreed to no unnecessary killings. Max returns and tells Furiosa they got more company. In the distance, they spot the bullet farmer coming from the bullet farm. Joe's wives try to convince Nux that Joe is a very bad person, but he tells them by Joe's hands the world will be healed. The ladies think he's been brainwashed, and they throw him off the rig. Nux grabs one of their scarves and takes it to Immortan Joe. Inside the rig, Furiosa tells her team she made a deal for safe passage with the biker gang, but is unsure if it's still looking good. She asks the ladies to get back in the hole beneath the rig and tells Max she'll need him. As per her deal with the biker gang, she's supposed to be alone. She tells Max no matter what, he can't be seen. Max quickly crawls inside the hole and asks Angharad to join him. As they enter the canyon, Furiosa asks Max his name, but he tells her it's not important. She proceeds to teach him how to override the kill switch, just in case. She gets to the agreed location, steps out of the rig with her hands raised up, but she sees no one. She proceeds to tell them the 3,000 gallons of gasoline is all there, like they asked. The bikers show up and tell her she promised there'll only be a few vehicles in pursuit, but now they count 3 war parties after her. The first party in pursuit shows up behind her, and the bikers realize something's off and start shooting at her. She calls out to Max, telling him to drive, and she runs beside the rig to escape the flying bullets. Before the raiders could cross the canyon, the gang leader gives the command for it to be blown off, blocking their path, and the gang goes after Furiosa and her team. The war parties come to a complete stop, and while Joe is telling them to find a way through, his son Rictus Erectus brings Nux to him, saying he was on the war rig. Joe tells Nux to climb aboard. The bullet farmer murmurs. He isn't happy they're going through everything for a family squabble. Joe and others drive over the blockade in a monster truck. Meanwhile, Furiosa and her crew are still fleeing the bike gang. The bikers drop explosives on the rig, and Furiosa lowers the front blade to scoop up dust and put out the flames. Max loads and hands her a sniper rifle, and she goes out and shoots at the bikers attacking them, but runs out of bullets and gives the women to reload. One of the bikers lands on the rig and tells Furiosa they had a deal. Max shoots and kills him before he could fire his gun. One of them crashes underneath the rig and blows the link to the fuel pod, and it explodes. Immortan Joe catches up to them and is about to shoot Furiosa, when suddenly Angharad steps out the door, and Joe is forced to put away his weapon. Nux tells Joe he can get on the rig and stab Furiosa on the spine, paralyzing her. Joe gives him a gun and instructs him to kill Furiosa, stop the rig and bring his wives, and he will personally carry him to Valhalla. Rictus throws Nux onto the rig, He tries to run forward but stumbles and drops his weapon to Joe's disgust. Joe gets ahead of the rig, Rictus shoots a spear gun, and it hooks on the rig's steering wheel. He pulls it and Max's hand gets stuck on the door with it. Angharad steps out, cuts the chain, and frees Max's hand. Suddenly the rig hits a rock, but she's saved by hanging on the door. She tries to get back in but slips and falls off the rig, and Joe fatally runs over her, crashing his truck. Capable tells Max to stop and go back for her, but he refuses. Furiosa asks if he saw her die. He tells her she went under the wheels. The women start crying and regret why they ever left the Citadel to find the green place. Later, Joe picks up Angharad's body and weeps in sorrow. Cheeto, one of Joe's wives, decides to run back to him, believing he'll forgive them for trying to escape Joe, and his army continue chasing the rig, more determined than ever. Back in the rig, Max asks Furiosa where the green place is. She tells him it's a night ride heading east. She turns to the ladies and tells them to match every gun with its bullets in preparation for an encounter with Joe. Capable goes to the back of the rig to keep watch, and there she meets Nux, tells her he saw his own blood bag driving the rig that killed Angharad. He hits his head in tears and Capable consoles him. He talks to her about his mates Larry and Barry and tells her he's seen himself being taken to Valhalla by Immortan Joe and now he's lost his chance. At night, Furiosa and Max drive through a swamp and get stuck in the mud. Max gets out and sets up landmines to slow Joe's forces. Joe's forces arrive and some are destroyed, blocking the path forward. The mechanic doctor tells Joe Angharad is dying, and Joe tells him to get the baby out immediately. The bullet farmer arrives and decides to go after Furiosa in his ATV. The mechanic doctor takes out the baby, but it is dead. He tells Rictus he had a baby brother, perfect in every way. Furiosa's rig once again gets stuck in the mud with the bullet farmer closely behind their trail. Moved by Capable's passion, Nux decides to help them, but Furiosa doesn't trust him. He tells them to tie the rig to a tree ahead so it will be easier to pull it out the mud. Furiosa takes out the lights of the bullet farmer's ATV to slow him down. The shattered particles from the torch enter his eyes and he goes blind. Max tries to wrap the chains around the tree, but it's short. Quickly, Nux has Capable cut the chains on his hands and he hands it to Max to attach to it. The bullet farmer ties his eyes and goes after them. He starts shooting and it slows them down as they try to take cover. Nux succeeds in driving the rig out of the mud and they escape. The war rig's engine is hot and they stop to cool it down while Max takes a gallon of gasoline and goes to blow up the bullet farmer. Before leaving, he tells Furiosa to go with the crew once the engine cools down. Later, Max gets back with ammunition, a new steering wheel, and a pair of boots for Nux. Max goes to wash off blood on his face and sees milk toast. The most intelligent one of Joe's wives tells him it's mother's milk. The next morning, Max wakes up to his visions. He asks Furiosa how she knew the green place. Furiosa tells him she was born there and was taken as a child. Later, Furiosa spots a green place watchtower. They get closer and see a woman crying. Max tells her it's bait. She steps out of the rig and identifies herself as one of the Vuvalini. The woman sends a signal and the others quickly surround them. The women recognize her and ask how long it's been since she was taken. She tells them 7,000 days and that her mother was killed on the third day. The women see the two men and are frightened, but Furiosa assures them they can be trusted. She tells the women they're going to the green place. They tell her she already passed it. It turns out the green place is now the swamp where her rig got stuck. The women explain, the water got contaminated and the crows came. They couldn't grow anything and had to leave. Furiosa is shocked, devastated and broken by the news. At night they sit and watch the skies as the satellites pass by. Dog is seen talking with the keeper of the seeds, and she tells the old woman she's having a baby, but isn't so happy as she believes the baby will be ugly. The old lady shows her the seeds she's been carrying around for years, and tells her one day they'll find a place to plant them. Max prepares to leave, but not before having a chat with Furiosa. She tells him they'll leave the rig behind as they'll have a better chance riding off on the bikes. She tells Max he's welcome to come with them, but he tells her he'll make his own way. The next morning, Max has another vision and leaves to catch up with Furiosa and the gang. He goes to her and shows her his plan, telling her they have to go back to the Citadel. The others hear about it and think he's insane. Joe's wives tell the Vuvalini it's a place filled with a tremendous amount of fresh water and lots of crops. They're impressed and eager to see it. Max tells them to go back the same way they came and charge the war rig through Joe's army. Furiosa asks how they'll take the Citadel. If they can make it back, Capable steps in and tells her if they can block the pass to the Citadel, it will be easy, as there are no more war boys left to fight. She explains Nux can bring them inside like he's bringing back what was stolen. The Seed Keeper likes the plan and believes they should do it, and Furiosa agrees. Joe and his forces are taking a rest when they spot the rig. Rictus asks why they're going back, thinking they want to surrender. Joe tells them they're heading to the canyons to blow it up, since they know the Citadel is undefended. The gang quickly set up and leave. Inside the rig, Dag prays to anyone that's listening. One of Joe's gang approaches them and tries to get ahead and spike their wheels. Nux gets in front of the engines and nudges them, causing the rig to go faster, but he's unable to keep up and Max takes his place. They destroy the vehicle chasing them. Furiosa informs Max the rig has now lost engine 1 and is about to lose the second engine, and quickly Max and Nux go to fix it. Two of the Vuvalini take out a few of Joe's warboys before being run over by the People Eater. The gang gets close and shoots the rig with spears holding them back. Max starts cutting the chains, but the gang keeps shooting at the tank. One of the vehicles approaches the rig and shoots a spear inside, but the driver is shot by a Vuvalini, and it loses control and goes beneath the rig, pulling the cab of the rig and killing the Vuvalini. Max cuts the chains and it hits the drive of a vehicle, and the vehicle crashes into another. Joe's fighters appear hanging on sticks. They drop grenades inside the rig and try to strangle Furiosa. The Seed Keeper steps in and saves her, but is shot in the process. One of them tries to kill Max with an arrow, but he blocks it with his hand. Toast is captured. Another tries to cut Max with a chainsaw. He blocks it and almost falls over, but Furiosa catches him. One of them sneaks up and stabs Furiosa, but she continues holding on to Max. The rig is almost surrounded when Nux finally repairs the engine, and it goes back to full power. Nux gets in the fight and helps Max get on the Bullet Farmer's vehicle. Max kills everyone and confiscates the vehicle, and soon after it explodes. The explosion is seen in the distance by the biker gang. Furiosa tries to get the rig ahead of Joe, but fails. She tells Nux to drive while she goes on to attack Joe's vehicle. Max gets on the Doof Warrior's rig and tries to kill him, but fails. And he hops back to the war rig when he sees Furiosa making her way to Joe's vehicle. Cheeto, the fragile one among Joe's wives, decides she wants to be taken back by Rictus. Rictus tries to take Dog, but is stopped by a Vuvalini. He turns and sees Cheeto helping Furiosa get on Joe's vehicle, Morsov, and Furiosa engage in a fight on Joe's vehicle, while Max and Rictus engage in a fight on the war rig. Joe tries to shoot Furiosa, but is stopped by Toast, and she quickly attaches a spear to his mask, and the wheels pull it off, killing Immortan Joe. They each cross over to Joe's vehicle and prepare to destroy the canyon. But suddenly, Rictus wakes up and destroys the rig's engine. Nux, to stop Rictus, sacrifices himself and crashes the rig into the canyon. Later, Furiosa is dying from her injuries as her lungs collapse. Max quickly makes an opening in her ribs to let air into her lungs. She's lost a lot of blood, and Max performs a transfusion to save her. He tells her his name is Max. Later, they arrive at the Citadel and make their way to the lift where one of Joe's soldiers asks them to reveal themselves. Max climbs out the bonnet and reveals the body of Immortan Joe. He then throws it to the ground, and the happy crowd rips the corpse to shreds. The crowd sees Furiosa and begin chanting angrily, "Let them up! Let them up!" Colossus is left with no choice but to order the warboys to bring them up. The people scramble on board the lift as it is raised back up. The milk producers of Joe open the hatch and let water flow to the people. Furiosa looks in the crowd and sees Max going his separate way and blinks at him. The end! Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications as it helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.